I'm Coach Dave. Welcome back to Coach's Corner.
Come on.
Welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. I'm Coach Dave McDonough. Today we're going to kind of switch it up. From the boxing end, we have MMA rising star Quentin Paisley out of Fighting Arts Academy in Milford. Welcome, Quentin. Quentin is currently 2-0 as an MMA professional fighter. He will be fighting again June 20th up in the Niagara Falls area on a LFA show. He's currently coming off a win at Foxwoods with LFA Promotions. Welcome, Quentin. Thankful for you to come down here today, take some time out of your training.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Coach Dave.
And speaking with us today. And, Quentin and I have started to work together a little bit, and with some of the other fighters, I'm very thankful to work with Newell, Roger Denton, and his team up there at Fighting Arts Academy. What a great facility, great coaches, great guys up there. But, Quentin is, in my opinion, I'm learning the MMA aspect, but Quentin is a multi-talented fighter at the MMA. He can box. He has ground game. He has kicked, stand up. And he is somebody to watch in the future in this sport. But I know you haven't been involved in it that long, correct? Is that true? Is that what everybody says, that you've only been doing this for a short time?
Yeah, I've only been training for about 4 years now.
And what was the lure to bring you into this? Because you were an athlete prior to this, right? A football player?
Yeah, I played football and I played basketball. I wasn't really too good at it, though.
Right.
So it didn't really get me anywhere, but I was just kind of like a standstill in my life. Didn't really have too much going on, so I just wanted to try to get into it. I always liked it. I always wanted to try it, but never had the opportunity, so I just took it.
But, you dive right in. Like most guys are training for years here, whether it's jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing. You're already 4 years into this, 2 fights as a pro. How many fights as an amateur?
7.
7 fights, so 9 fights total. And your last fight, you're coming off a big first-round stoppage with one of the Gracies, one of the families from the Gracie family, which everybody knows. And, I mean, that kind of is putting you on the map after that, if people saw the video and everything and your preparation for that camp. What do you, the dynamic for me is most people in the MMA world, like I said, are there for a while before they even take an amateur fight. Mm-hmm. You're deep in the game, and you're not in a small division either. So you're fighting with the big boys out there. I mean, how was the beginning stages of this and for you? Was it challenging? Was it?
Yeah, it was tough, but I liked it so much that I didn't really mind it. I think like a month or 2 into training, I did my first jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah.
And I still got the videos on my phone. I got my ass kicked. Everybody kicked my ass. And then kind of lit a fire under me. I got the real feel of what competition is like. So, and then probably like 3 months in, I did a smoker, which is like a exhibition match. It don't really count towards nothing, no record. Had 2 matches in one day. So that was my first feel of fighting in a competition.
Fighting in a competition.
Yeah.
So finding the sport and, where you train, and for people who don't know where you're training, Fighting Arts Academy, Nick, Newell, Roger Denton, the rest of the coaches there, I don't want to miss anybody out. The Fighters is an elite gym. It is, whether you're going to be a fighter or you're training to get in shape and you just love jiu-jitsu, martial arts, combat sports, it is an elite-run gym. Did you pick that place? Did you know anything about it, or was it you walked in, hey, I see it on a website, let me walk in there?
I seen, I looked up MMA gyms around me, and that one popped up. I didn't know nothing about nothing. I didn't know none of the coaches.
Right.
I didn't know any gyms. I barely knew anything about the UFC. I know the big name people, but that's it. So I looked it up, and honestly, I don't think I ever said this to anybody. I looked it up and I saw Nick Newell. He had one arm. And I'm like, how the fuck did he make this happen? I'm like, he got to know something. Like, he's got to have some crazy knowledge or something. So I just went. And I realized it wasn't really like the knowledge he had. It's just he got that dog in him. It's different. He got something you can't teach, you know? So
Yeah,
it just felt...
Their combination of both of them is like when I met Nick, and I was like you. I didn't know too much about him. I heard the name, you know, but, you know, my focus is boxing, not MMA.
Right.
Yeah, him and Roger are just, they're like encyclopedias when it comes to the
Roger
game.
has knowledge. Like, you can ask him anything. He's going to have something on it. So
yeah,
it's just a great combination of like somebody who's going to push you, somebody who's going to teach you so much. And it's just, it was a perfect match for me.
Yeah. So were you thinking about competing when you went there, or was it just, I need to train, let me see how this is going to go? And, you know, what was the reaction when you walked in? I mean, I'm sure Nick just, you know.
Honestly, I don't know what their reaction was. They told me like I was like pretty good for somebody who's never trained, but like a lot of people thought I trained or like fought a lot or something. But I did it like I wanted to fight, and I had like big goals for it. But honestly, I didn't think it was achievable. Like, I'm like, there's people who's been doing this all their lives, and I just step in. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just give it all I got until I can't no more. And it's
how long was it before you actually competed that you were training, that they said you were ready? Or did you push that envelope?
It was kind of both. Like, I always ask, like, when do you think I can? And like I said, like 3 months in, it was like, I could put you in a smoker just to get the feel of it. And then I did that. Probably like a month or two later, I did another one. And then like 6, 7 months in, I did my first amateur fight.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talent in that gym. So you walking in at the beginning is like, okay, you're doing your work, and now you're working with the guys like Justin Sumner. I know Mikey Kimball's in there. He's not in your weight class, but you're around a lot of guys, and I don't want to miss anybody. So you're around a lot of guys who have fought and have experience. What was that like when you actually had to start working with them? Were you feeling like, okay, I need to prove to myself I can be on this level? Or
yeah, definitely. Like Justin, for example, I remember my first spar session with him. He kicked me in my stomach so hard, I spit my mouthpiece out, everything. So I just remember getting my ass kicked a lot in that gym, like in the beginning. People holding me down who now like probably can't even take me down if they tried. Like, and it just always lit a fire under me, always lit a fire. I just kept going. Like, I'll leave the gym 9 o'clock, go straight to like Planet Fitness or something, start lifting weights. Like, I gotta get better.
Yeah, I mean, your work ethic is not anything that anybody's gonna put a negative touch on for you. Watching you and being able to work with you and watching you train from a distance. You're in the gym, you train hard, you're a gym rat basically. You're in there, you're living the life of a professional athlete right now that's, rising up. But in the vision of this, did you vision this?
No, I didn't, honestly. Like I said, like I wanted it for sure, but I didn't think it was going to be achievable. But
you're here now, and it's kind of hard. Like, you talk about, like, this sport, not to take away from football or any other sports, you're athletic. I can't see you not being gifted on the football field or on the basketball court with your athletic ability, because, you're holding stand-up, kicks, hands, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, all within 4 years, trying to learn.
I look at it like I wasn't bad at basketball or football. I just, for one, I wasn't mentally into it. Like, I kind of really didn't want to do it. I'm just an athlete. I got to be doing something. And then for two, I didn't have the work ethic. So my physicality didn't keep up to the rest of the kids. I was like when I started MMA, I was probably like 175. like 6'4", 175, skinny, weak. So
What
I didn't have
changed? You
to-
talked about the mental aspect of it. Let's talk about that for a second, Quentin. What changed for you as a, and you're still a young fighter, young man growing in the sport, and you see a lot of people in the gym. They talk about they want to train, they want to fight. We all do, right? Everybody sees in different gyms all of this. What changed for you mentally from when you walked in there as a beginner to, saying, okay, I can maybe do this, and you're gaining some confidence. But, what was the 360 for you?
It was just my love for it. Like, I started and I never felt so comfortable doing something that's meant to make you uncomfortable, Like, it felt natural to me. So I'm like, I got to stick to it. I never wanted something as much as I want this. So.
And, yeah, I mean, look, the love of it is what draws us to the sports, right, for all of us. But how do you mentally stay focused and up? Because it is challenging. You're being challenged in training. You don't just train one dynamic. You're training multiple dynamics of this sport. And you have your strong points and you probably have your weaknesses. How do you stay mentally focused day in and day out of the routine?
You just gotta keep in mind, like, the bigger picture, what you want out of it. So there's days where it sucks and I get my ass kicked, but that don't mean you just give in. Like, the next day, right back to it. Try to fix your mistakes. Keep pushing. And, like, this is like football and basketball, for example. You have a bad game. It's just a bad game, right? You just lose a sport. Go to the next game, play again. Fighting it's not like that. Like, a bad fight could be your last fight.
Yeah.
Like, you get seriously hurt.
Yeah. You get
Check
shelved.
out.
You don't get the next fight so fast. You
Right.
know, your performance dictates when you're going to fight again in our sport.
Other sports, you get traded to another team or something,
Yeah.
another opportunity. You don't get that here.
All right, you're playing the next night, so if you had a bad game the night before, you get to redeem yourself right away, and everybody forgets about the bad game.
Right.
In the fighting world, it's like, one fight is, like you said, it can make you or break you, especially in the beginning of your career or even as your career starts to evolve. And,
And
we see it.
They're so heavy on it nowadays. You lose, they're like, oh, he's a bum.
Do you think right now, right? Do you think right now with MMA, the popularity of MMA out there right now, just by being at that event Saturday night with you guys, like, I was amazed about, it was a local event, the amount of people that know the sport. And I'm learning the MMA end of it from you guys, right? So I'm learning about the names, the players, the coaches, and everything that's going on. Do you think there's just more people out there right now that MMA has to choose from that, look, you got to be on top of your game because there's 10 other guys out there that we can put on a show?
Yeah, it's a growing sport. People don't realize that. It's one of the newest sports out there. Like, all these other sports started like early 1900s and stuff. This just started in 1990. So it's still growing. Some people are just now learning about it and getting into it. So
yeah, well, UFC, people see the UFC, right? The highest level, right? Now we're starting to see, you fight out of this LFA promotion that we'll talk about at Foxwoods. It was a great promotion, some great fights. I mean, you fought on it. You had, Gracie family fighting on it. Glover Texera's gym brought in people. So, there's some high level people involved in the promotion and fighting in the sport out there. And that's not the UFC. That's not the big shows that we see on pay-per-view that are sold out. So it is a lot going on out there for people to see this sport evolve and grow. But when you decided to turn pro, was it a you decision? Did you sit down with Nick and Roger? How did that come about for you? Because after 7 amateur fights, was it like, you could have fought maybe another 20 amateur fights? I don't know how that benefits in the MMA world as opposed to boxing where, more amateur fights kind of gives you a little more experience, which I'm sure it does also in MMA. But you were ready to go after 7. What was that discussion like?
There wasn't too much of a discussion. We had my last amateur fight book, and we kind of like was just like, we'll see how it goes, and from there we'll see. And it was a first round knockout, and I just remember they came in the cage and they were just like, "You're ready." So we just went for it. Honestly, I do wish I got a little more amateur experience, like boxing and kickboxing, but it just felt.
I mean, your last 2 fights are first round stoppages,
right?
And the other aspect of you is their opponents are dropping out. It's always a stretch for you to find an opponent. It seems like, your opponents change on a regular basis. You get a date set, and it's this opponent, it's that opponent. You on the last card, you fought, out of the family of the Gracie family, great name in the sport. Gyms, what was that like in the preparation for that camp? I mean, that was a bigger fight than the fight previously for you. And, how did you take that opportunity and your preparation? What were you thinking about before that fight?
I was just preparing. Like we didn't know nothing about him. We didn't have any video of him, or he didn't have any fights, so we didn't know how he was gonna come in. We just kind of expected the weird little Gracie stand-up that they got.
You went with their style that they teach their fighters over the years.
Yeah, and then, he's a Gracie. We expected elite grappling. So we're just like, stay cautious, touch him a little bit, see how he moves, figure it out, and then we'll find it. But we kind of was like, let's just kind of stay off the ground just in case. And after that fight, I'm like, damn, I wish I submitted him. That'd have been cool to have a submission over a Gracie on my resume. So,
yeah, but I see your point there, but it didn't really turn out that way because he wasn't able to get you to the ground.
Yeah.
You kind of controlled that whole fight, and if people seen the video, they can go and watch it on YouTube and watch the video of that fight on LFA Promotions. It was a pretty impressive performance for you. You said what the plan was to kind of keep him off the ground and everything. Did you expect the stoppage?
Yeah.
Did you? Well, let's put it this way. You and I haven't talked about that, right? When did you feel it in the fight that you knew you could stop him in that first round? Because looking back at the tape, I could see the momentum building.
Honestly, I kind of knew before the fight. Once you kind of like get a feel for somebody, I could tell, like, all right, I could break him. But in the fight, I got my feel after the first uppercut. Because everything, I was still kind of like getting the ring rust off. It's my first fight in over a year.
Yeah.
So still was like adjusting to the lights and stuff. And then I kept coming in with like this little jab cross, and he'll duck under. And I made a read. It was like just fake a hook, go uppercut. And from there, like, everything went dark. I just got back in the fight mode. And I was just looking for the finish after that.
Yeah, and it came pretty fast after that. It just didn't. So now you're looking at June 20th. Tell us a little bit about your opponent and what you're anticipating and what you're working on for this fight, because it's a different style opponent that you're used to. More aggressive wrestler. Southpaw?
Nah, he's Orthodox.
He's Orthodox, okay.
Yeah.
So, what are you working on? What do you anticipate in this? What are you seeing in your opponent? Because now you're being challenged again.
Yeah. I'm, like you said, aggressive wrestling, we're expecting that. So this camp, really pushing the pace, really going hard with the wrestling. If I have to bring that out of me, I would. But, of course, it's best to keep it in my world, so keep distance, touch and move around. He's an undefeated prospect, just like me, same exact record, 7-0 as an amateur, 2-0 as a pro. At one point, he was actually ranked ahead of me in amateurs. So kind of had my eye on him for a minute, but
So it's a good fight style-wise. You know, you guys are probably evenly matched here as
Yeah.
far as, you know, experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a challenge early in your career.
yeah, I'm ready for it. We all need these type of fights. People will probably say like the last fight was more of a mismatch, which looking at it, it was. So this fight would
well, it
be
would have been a mismatch if you had to go to the ground. You don't know.
right.
We don't, you know, we don't. How can people
At the
say?
end-
How can people say it's a mismatch? Nobody saw his ground game.
Right. At the end of the day, it's a fight. It takes one punch or one takedown or one slip, anything to change a fight. So, but this one is, like you said, it should be evenly matched, and hopefully it bring the best out of me.
Yeah, it's you know, one thing that I see here, right? Like I'm trying to figure out, right? I watch these guys train, and I keep going back to the 4 years, right? 4 years. You don't have any big wrestling experience. You're not a belt holder as far as, you know, you're still in your early stages as jiu-jitsu and martial arts. But yet you're mixing it up with all these guys that might have a little more experience than you, a little more training than you at the moment. And it's just, do you sit back and say, hey, I'm still growing in this game. I'm still at the early stages, and you're holding your own with, you know, in preparation for your fights with people in camp and guys that are coming in to spar with you and to work with you. I mean, what is that like for your growth? Where do you see you need to be better going forward in this sport?
Well, I'm still a baby in this sport. I'm always just learning and doing as much as I can to grow.
Yeah.
I like to train with like a wrestler. I like to wrestle with a wrestler, box with a boxer, because like you said, that's what they do. I'm still new to this, so it shows me I have so much room to improve, and I use that. I don't shy away from it. I pretty much ask for it. So,
What would you say your strengths are and your weaknesses in the sport?
obviously, if you look at my fights, my strength would be my striking. They say, my weakness, like fight wise.
Yeah, what are you working on in the gym right now with your coaches to be better? That you would say that you need to put to your package?
Definitely, I gotta say my grappling, maybe, my wrestling, and could always be better. But it hasn't been tested to see what it really is in that type of situation. But like, I'm confident in it. I would fight any level wrestler or jiu-jitsu guy. I don't mind, but I think for sure that's what to work on.
I mean, your coaches, you know, Roger and Nick and the other fighters that are in your gym, there's some high-level people there that might not necessarily be pro fighters, but they're, you know, they're high level as far as their training and their skill set. I mean, what are some of the things you work on there? Besides, I know, you know, we're working on your stand-up, and we'll kind of get to that, but is it more challenging for you to work on that grappling and ground game right now than your stand-up?
No, it's not more challenging. I enjoy it, so it's like it's a part of the game. I work it, and I feel like I'm getting better at it. My teammates feel like I'm getting better at it. There's a lot that we do to improve my wrestling and my grappling. I go up to Essential. It's ran by JT Torres, who's a world champion in jiu-jitsu. And even there, they telling me, like, bro, you're getting better. Like, there's one guy there, he's real high level. And he gave me one of those backhanded compliments. He was like, I actually got to try with you now. And I'm like, cool.
Okay.
Getting better. So, I'm confident in my
Putting
grappling.
it all together, right, as an athlete in this sport. Talk about, because I think some people don't understand, the training regimen and how challenging it is because of everything you have to know in preparation for a fight. You're not just dealing with, okay, we're going to go box. It's just one thing. You're dealing with multi parts of the sport and have to prepare. How do you do that and make sure that you're getting everything focused into what you're comfortable in? Because there's so many different things coming at you. Like, you could be working jiu-jitsu one day, you could be working wrestling one day, kicks one day, stand up, you're putting it all together. Tell us how that plan comes together for you as a fighter. Because I know as coaches, everybody puts their input in and kind of sees it, but you have to take all that information and say, okay, how do you get that together for fight night?
Yeah, well, first it's put together by the coaches. Like, we watch my opponent, put together a little game plan and what we see, and then from there it becomes easier to put it all together. Like, I'm the type, I train the same way whether I'm in camp or out of camp. So out of camp is kind of just
Maintaining.
yeah, it's just working the things, getting better, all of it kind of just wild everywhere. And then once camp come and we put together our plan, we just simplify everything to what we need for this fight. So it becomes easier once it's that way. Like, Nick could have these angles we're setting up, this submission that you're looking for, and we'll zero in on those little things and just that's the main focus.
Do you focus more on one thing than the other, depending on the style of the fighter, the opponent that you're fighting?
Yeah. It's like for this, for example, he's a wrestler. So obviously a lot of wrestling, a lot of grappling, being able to use your jiu-jitsu off your back, being able to get to your feet. Those are the main things. Yesterday we had big glove sparring, which is normally just striking. Probably like 70% of the time I'm wrestling. So depending on who you're fighting, it's going to change.
How do you maintain your focus with all of this? Because it seems sometimes like it might be overwhelming, all the information coming at you. How do you zone it in for yourself?
I don't know. It just kind of comes natural. I got the fight in my head. I got the game plan in my head. I got what I want, like what I see, and I just go for that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's really to watch you grow, and look, you're training in the MMA style with high-level people too, but as you're boxing also, you've been working with high-level fighters, and I think a lot of people don't realize how you can move and your skill set for the experience. You have no amateur fights as a boxer, but yet you've worked with some high-level fighters. You worked with Ali Feliz, Miguel from Tracy Patterson. These guys have won. One's a pro, one's a new pro, won the Golden Gloves in New York City. Your attitude is like, I remember the first time you were in the ring over there. It's like you got 30 or 40 fights under you. You're calm. It's just, I've worked with fighters where to get them to that point to be in a sparring session with somebody at that level, it's like, okay, we got to work this, and this to get there. You just walk in cold and you're like, okay. And you're moving. How is that for you to be able to pick up like that? What do you see? Like, it's just, I kind of know from a coach's standpoint, but I want to hear it from you.
Like, what do I see while I'm in there?
Yeah.
I'm looking for openings. I'm looking for ways to improve. Like, he's catching me with this one shot. It's like, all right, how can I avoid it? How can I avoid it? Find the way to avoid it. Now, how can I counter? How can I make it mine? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's kind of, again, it's like a natural thing. It's like a God's gift, and I just work. Yeah.
Well, one thing I'm gonna say, right, and working with you, you're your own worst enemy because you're very hard on yourself. Sometimes I think too hard. From a coach's standpoint, you're still learning and you're evolving. And look, you're a worker. You're a thinker out there. You're not somebody who goes out there without a plan. You could kind of figure it out and pick it up as it goes along and make adjustments. But I think, you're tough on yourself. Your expectation of you, and that's great because I think every athlete should be hard on himself. You should have a higher expectation of what you want to do. As a pro now, and I'm sure Nick and Roger are talking to you about it because we've talked about it a little bit too. Are you becoming to where, like, okay, you need to give yourself a little bit of credit of where you are and where you're going?
Yeah,
instead of taking yourself out mentally.
I'm getting to that point. It took me a while because, like you said, I am very hard on myself. But
yeah. I mean, you're a thinker. I mean, look, it's not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I had to, like, kind of say that to you and, like, look, there's so much growth in this sport for you still. Now, not to get ahead of June 20th or anything else, and what's the aspirations here? I mean, what is the, from you as a fighter? Every fighter has a goal and everything. You are fighting where you are now, but what is your working towards? What are you and your team working towards?
I mean, obviously, it's gonna be the top. I want to be a world champion eventually.
Yeah, like every other fighter.
Yeah.
How hard? Because I think people don't realize, like you were talking about before, there's so many different promotions and shows opening up in the MMA and the combat world. UFC being the top promotion, right? How hard is that journey to get to the UFC for young, aspiring? Now, you're in the sport, you're around people that have been there. You've trained with people who fought on those. You've been in gyms with high-level UFC fighters. I know you've been over at Glover's with some of their guys. How hard of a journey is that?
It's hard, man. The amount of sacrifices you got to make and cut off so many things in your life that you're used to is very hard. But honestly, it's not as hard as you would think once you do that. Because like you said, I'm 4 years in, 2 fights as a pro, and I'm already almost there. The talks are there. I just got to stick to what I'm doing to get there. And but yeah, it's difficult in ways, and then.
So you've been in the gym with a lot of people. I'm not going to go running names up and everything like that, but you've been in the gym with guys who have fought at the UFC level. You've trained with them. How do you see yourself at that level? Because I know as fighters, I like to have my fighters, work with guys that are better than them within reason, right? So that they can gain something out of it. And also gives the fighter confidence to say, hey, I just worked with a guy who's got 20 pro fights or whatever, did well, had my moments. And yeah. How did that work for you? Because, give you more confidence, say, hey, I'm as good as you, or, in another year, I'm going to be better than you or whatever, because I think fighters need to answer that to themselves.
For sure. That's why I love working with people who are better than me, because like I said, it shows me the room of improvement I have. So, but being those in environments and working with those type of people, it definitely helped me. It showed that I do have what it takes. Like, I went to Thailand probably like 2-3 years ago. I stayed out there for about a month. And that was kind of like the turning point in my fight career to show me like you're doing everything right. Like seeing other people's work ethic from all around the world and seeing how other people train and then training with them and seeing how I do with them, it kind of showed me like you got what it takes.
Yeah, I think, look, we have a great state, and we're in a great area, tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and I know even Massachusetts is strong. Once you go to another country or another area where it's just fighting, how did the trip to Thailand come about, and what was the training like out there?
I had a friend, Arthur Sorcerer. He's a Muay Thai fighter, and I think he lived out in Thailand for a while. So he was like, I'm cool with the coaches. I could connect you with them. So I was like, hell yeah. So he did it, and I went, like I said, for about a month. And the training is like, it's different. It's a faster pace. It's harder because it's all these people coming in from all around the world. So they don't have time to just sit and like focus on you. It's just nonstop training all day outside in the heat. Like I was at Tiger Muay Thai, and the gym is it's like outside pretty much. So you're in the heat all day long, just training hard. But one thing I realized is that what we're doing at my gym is not so different from one of the best gyms in the world. Like a lot of things they were showing, it wasn't new to me.
It's just the talent that's there that you're working with at that point.
Right.
And now you're adjusting to an environment to keep training mentally.
Right. So,
it's like anything else, right? The fundamentals are the fundamentals. What you learn, if you're based, like even as a fighter, a boxer, right? If you have good fundamentals, you take that with you wherever you go. It's just different styles, I'm sure, that you learn and pick up little tricks from other people.
Right. That's pretty much what it was. And obviously they're real big on Muay Thai, so I learned a lot of Muay Thai out there as well. But
how did you feel in that environment, and how did you fare against some of these?
I felt amazing. I trained with UFC Fighters, and I moved well. My biggest thing, like when I'm there, I don't see it as much. I see the improvement when I leave. So when I left Thailand, I came back home, and like hard rounds wasn't as hard anymore. And I'm like, oh shit, like the improvement really there. So I think it was more of a mental improvement than anything. But I had people out there like asking me if I'm on steroids because I was, I guess, doing so well against them. And I was like, it's a weird question to ask me, but
yeah,
it's a compliment. So,
wow. Getting back to like, you see the improvement when you come back here, right? So again, you're fighting better, or you're training better than what you're fighting, and you know what, in the moment you don't see everything, right? Because you're training and you're focused on your training, you don't see the little improvement till you get back and you say, now the movements of the opponents you start to see before they happen. I don't get as tired or anything else.
right.
But you talked about one thing about, we were talking about how hard it is to get to the UFC and the focus and the sacrifice. You're still a young man. Tell us some of the sacrifices you're making right now, because you just don't show up at the gym and that's it. You're pretty much committed to your fighting. You train pretty much every day. You work out at the gym. You work at the gym. That's your job. Tell a little bit about the personal sacrifices you're making right now, because people don't realize, they see the fight night, right? I talk about this all the time. People see the fight night. They don't understand what you're doing every day before the fight. They see, oh, yeah, Quentyn won the fight. Yay. They don't realize that for 10 weeks, Quentyn broke his ass in the gym, gave up this, gave up that, personal life, family life, things you like to do, food, like everything else. You're human, right? But, you got to put all of that aside. Talk about that a little bit.
Obviously, I don't get to spend as much time with my family as I'd like to. I don't get to see my friends as much as I'd like to. I don't go out. I never really been a going out type anyway, but like I don't go out and party. I don't smoke. The hardest thing is the food though, man. You want to eat. I love eating food, so
Yeah.
all this food I gotta cut out for weeks and weeks and weeks, and
Because you're still making weight in your weight class.
yeah, I gotta. And right now it's the biggest I've been. I'm like 230 right now, so I gotta make 205 in 4 weeks. And people are like, "How you do it?" And I'm like, "Sacrifice. You gotta stop eating this food that's so good. You know, it's the hardest part about it." But then the other sacrifices is like the physical sacrifice. Body hurts every day. You know what I'm saying? You still wake up and go train regardless.
Now you're training twice, sometimes 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And they probably got to tell you to take a day off because you'll go 7 days a week. And look, that's not feasible because your body needs to recover. So, the mental and the physical aspect of, you going hard like that. Now the camp is almost 3.5 weeks out, 4 weeks before you're going to fight. You still got to cut 30 pounds. You still got to keep training. How is the training from here on in now? And talk about the weight cut.
The training is like I said earlier, we start zeroing in on all the little details to make the bigger picture. Conditioning is good. Everything's good right now. It's just zeroing in on the details and then going into the weight cut, start cutting back on eating as much as I normally do, drinking more water, and then but I normally don't struggle with weight cuts. You've been around for my weight cuts. I just throw on the sauna suit, hit the pads, and normally I'm on weight at the end of it. So,
I mean, most people freak out at 30 pounds at 4 weeks out.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about 7.5 pounds each week. That if you lost in the first 3 weeks, you still got to cut 7.5 the week of the fight, which is not a lot, but for some people it's a major struggle. And I know you guys got it down to a science of how you do it, and yeah, it's not a struggle for you because you're not freaking out the last 2 weeks like some guys will. Yeah. But without divulging everything here, what is a little bit of the plan here?
For what, weight cut?
No, for the fight.
For the fight? Make it to the fight for one. And then win. I don't normally go in with like a set thing.
Follow what the team says.
Yeah, kind of. Again, like I'm comfortable wherever the fight goes. So
you feel you're prepared.
Yeah.
With everything going on right now with this intense training, how do you find downtime to recover, not only physically but mentally? What do you do in that downtime? Because, you can't be 24/7 on the clock training. There's got to be a time for you to take a step back, not only physically but mentally, to get ready and for yourself.
Well, I normally try to spend time with my family and get my mind off of everything and just kind of live in the moment. I like to sit outside and go find some nice scenery and just embrace the moment. But that's the one thing I need to work on is my recovery. I don't think I recover as much as I need to. I don't know, always thinking about the next move, I think. So,
well, the recovery end of it is a big part of the next move, because without it, you're still a young man, so your body's recovering a lot faster and everything else. But, you're talking about your family. What's the support from your family? And, for fighters, we know, okay? Not only, it takes a village to help a fighter.
100%.
And not just coaches. There's friends, there's family, there's teammates, there's people that are part of your life helping you in your career, supporting you. When you decided to do this and now you're pro, talk about your family and the support and how important that is for a fighter.
I honestly don't think any of this is possible without the support I got from my family. Of course, I got my team. I got my teammates who push me every day, but the push I get from my family and just to know that they believe, it's like you want to give them something in return, just for that belief. And my mom is the biggest supporter I have. She helps me with everything. So if it wasn't for her, none of this was possible.
What was her response as a mother when you came home and said, I'm doing this, forget the first amateur fight, but now I'm going to do it at a professional level?
By then she was with it, but growing up, I always wanted to box, and she was like, no, I'm not signing you up for people to punch you in the head. So she went and signed me up, and so I got to 18, 19 years old, had my own money. So I was just I'm going to do it. I didn't even tell her. I just went and did it. And I remember coming home and I was just I like it. I'm gonna do it. And she didn't take it serious. She's just oh, he's just training.
It's gonna be a phase.
Yeah. And then I came home I gotta fight. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah. She's like, you've been really taking it serious. I'm like, yeah, gotta fight. And I fought, and she seen it. And from that day on, she was all in. She was like you really can do this. You look natural in there, like you belong. And since then, she all in. My fault, all in. So,
yeah, that's big. That's as a parent, it's important. They want to protect you. So your mom comes to your fights.
Yeah.
Is she the loudest in the arena?
She was. The first fight, all I heard was her. She's just like, kill him. And the fight's over. She's standing outside the cage. I'm like, I had to talk with her. I was like, Ma, you can't do that no more. You got to sit down. You got to relax. I'm already nervous as it is.
Yeah. As a parent, it's very tough. Look, I had daughters that played sports, and it's very tough. You say you don't want to be that parent, right? You want to be but what happens is you're not only proud, but you're excited, and you feel that, that's the support. But I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. It's hilarious. And my father's the total opposite. He'd just sit there and just watch. But he's always dropping wisdom, and a lot of things he taught me growing up I still use to this day, and I even use it in fighting. So appreciate him as well. But yeah, without family, none of this is possible. I don't see it happening.
No. So I mean, it's important. Are they now? You're a couple fights in, right? Are they giving you coaching advice now, other than wisdom?
Oh,
Now they're coaches, right?
I got my aunt will call, she'll watch my fighter and be like, oh, he's gonna do this. I need you. I'm like, all right, coach, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the gym a little bit, because, once again, as a coach myself, when you get to work with certain people, and not only fighters, as coaches, we want to learn, right? I want to learn. And I've been blessed in this sport to be around a lot of good coaches on the boxing end. But now, not knowing the MMA world other than watching it, because I don't know the nuances of, what to do in certain situations other than striking. And, working with Nick and Roger, two different personalities. But what a great team there. And it's, Roger's a little more excitable than Nick. I think Nick is very
straightforward.
He's got his plan in his head, and he's got his way when it comes to fight night, and Roger does too. You fighting at that gym, and when you go to shows, people know Nick and they know Roger. They've been around the sport, not only what success Nick had in the sport, but Roger as a coach is world-renowned also. Do you feel that plays an advantage for your team and for you as a fighter?
Yeah, for sure.
You guys looked at differently when you walk in the room with Nick and Roger?
Yeah. Obviously, Nick, like, everybody knows Nick. So the respect you get just from being under him, it holds a lot of weight. And then Roger, he's been around for so long, and the respect he gets, you know, it definitely holds weight for him.
So you worked with Nick on the ground. What's it like?
Nick is different.
Because, you know, when I first, he had come over to our gym and he had actually boxed somebody over there, and he boxed their ears in. I mean, literally, like, and the kid he was boxing wasn't a bad fighter. He had experience. Nick jumped on him like, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like I said earlier, like, you after training with him, you realize that it's not a technique thing. That, like, of course he has technique, don't get me wrong. It's something that you just can't teach that he has. And you don't realize that until you train with him. Like, he's really different, and he's strong. He's strong as fuck.
Yeah, he is.
He's like 180, but when he feels like no lie, like 250.
I mean, you look at him, he looks like Clark Kent. You know, don't get mad, Nick. I mean it in a good way. Like, he does not.
I think he'll take that as a compliment.
He doesn't give you that fighter personification until you start talking to him.
Yeah.
What? And, you know, look, he overcame everything as a fighter, and he had his own. Does he give you that? Does that rub off on you? Not that it doesn't give it. Does that rub off on you? And how does he bring it out of you in that? Because he's very, you know, he's got a very unique style of, you know, coaching that, you know, he's very calm, very calculated coach. How does that come out of, you know, off of him to you now?
I think that's the good thing about me and him and why we connect so well, is that he don't have to bring it out of me. Like, it definitely rubs off of me, that edge he has. And it makes me want that same thing. But I think he just knows that, like, I just got it in me as well. So me and him, we could just, like, preparing for a fight, we just sit and talk about the fight. We train, go and fight. He's not in my ear, like, you got this, you did it. Like, he don't need to hype me up. We relax, we stay calm, and we just go and get the job done. So,
yeah, I mean, you know, look, you manage personalities, right? You manage fighters' personalities. Some fighters need to be hyped, some don't. You have to adjust to who the fighter is and kind of get in his head a little bit and say, okay.
Nick is very, very good with that. He knows his fighters to us. He knows which words to say to a fighter. It's not even just like the energy to bring. He knows which words to say to a fighter.
I mean, working a little bit with you guys now and starting to get to know everybody over there. Yeah, he definitely does. I listen and I watch, you know, his preparation and you know, picks and chooses his spots of what to say to each fighter. Because look, each fighter's different, man. You know, some fighters, I'm not a big yeller, but some fighters you gotta kick in the ass, some you gotta hug, you know, and you gotta know who to do it with, when to do it, when to say it, when not to say it. And yeah, I'm not a hype guy either, to be perfectly honest with you. It's like, look, you're ready, let's go do our job. You're ready. You know what I mean? And if you're ready means the coaching staff did their job to get you ready. So if you're feeling confident as a coach, knowing you're walking into a fight, your fight is ready, then okay, what happens in the fight happens in the fight. You know, we win fights we're supposed to lose. We lose fights that we're supposed to win. That's combat sports. That's boxing. It happens. Some things are out of our control. But, you know, going forward here, you know, as you continue to train, and obviously, you know, not to get ahead of June 20th because that's the target date for you right now. You're locked in and focused on that to keep going there. You know, keeping your motivation, keeping everything going, you know, in that gym, are you more of a role model now to a lot of the people coming in there? Are they coming to you seeking, you know, advice or, you know, how do I do this or coaching and this and that?
Yeah, it is kind of like that, but like I still consider I said it earlier. I still consider myself a baby, so I try not to play too much into that rule because I still want to be a student myself. But definitely like get around with somebody that's gonna come up and ask for advice, and I gotta understand that because while I'm sparring, I'm not looking to help you out. I'm trying to do the opposite. You know, I'm trying to find my way.
You're there to work for yourself, and,
right. And I got to understand that people are starting to look at me as...
Well, people coming in to challenge you now.
I don't think so.
What I mean in the challenging sense is maybe is like, okay, like you need to validate yourself as a fighter. They need to validate themselves also as like, hey, can I hang with him? Am I as good as him? Well, let me see if I could work with him. You know what I mean? And it's like, let me see how good he really is. And that's what I mean by challenge in that sense. Not challenge you in the sense of, okay, we're going to fight type of challenge. But who do you look up to? Like, and your style, who would you model yourself after as a fighter?
Like just in general?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few fighters I like to watch and take pieces from their game, but I wouldn't model myself after anybody. I think I'm kind of like my own person and trying to come in very uniquely.
Create your own style.
Yeah. But there's definitely a few I'd take. Obviously, like a John Jones, a lot of people compare me to him, and he's a all-around fighter, so I like to take things from him. Alex Pereira, great striker, like to take things from him. I watch people who's dominant in what they do. So like it could be Nurmagomedov. I'm gonna watch his wrestling and see how he sets up his wrestling and
take little pieces.
Stuff, right.
Now you worked with Alex Pereira, correct?
Yeah, I've worked with him before.
What was that like for you?
It was nice to experience. It was like a very light sparring that day, so I didn't really get to move around how I would like to with that type of person. But I realized what makes somebody like him special is not people to look at the power. It's more of like the timing and the placements of the shots that you don't see coming. You know, it's things like that. And it was a great opportunity.
Yeah. No, look, power is one thing, right? Knowing how to use the power is what it really is. You know, if you know, we talk about this. You have the power and you have speed. Your thing is learning how to use both and use it properly. But look, we're going to kind of finish up here, and I really appreciate you taking the time out, and you know, very excited to watch your career unfold and be a part of it a little bit here. Tell us a little bit about where people can find you. I know you're not the biggest social media guy, but you're trying to get there. But you know, you do fight out of Fighting Arts Academy in Milford. Nick Newell's gym, Roger Denton, the coaches over there. Yep. You're fighting on LFA Promotions June 20th in
Salamanca, New York. At I'm not even going to try to say the casino's name.
Yeah,
but Salamanca, New York. Yeah.
All right, which is up by Niagara Falls. Is that going to be streamed?
Yeah, it's going to be. I don't know where I'm at on the card. If I'm on the prelims, it'll be on YouTube, which is for free. If I'm on the main card, it'll be on UFC Fight Pass.
All right, and we can find you on Instagram under
Q Paisley, QPASLEY.
All right, so you know, keep an eye out on Quentin Paisley. Check out his social media for this upcoming fight on LFA Promotions. Please continue to watch my social media, Coach Dave Champ Boxing on Instagram, Coach Dave CT on YouTube, Coach's Corner Podcast. We will have more information as the fight starts to unfold and the promotions. And, you know, if you're in the area and you want to get tickets or if you want to stream it, we'll also have information to find that. But one last question for you, Quentin, before we kind of wrap it up here. If you had to give somebody advice like yourself coming up in the game, what would that advice be right now?
Stay focused. Just stay tunnel vision. Know what you want out of it and just go for it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Whatever you want, you can go get. That'd be it. Just simple.
Yeah, you heard it right there, folks. You know, rising MMA prospect Quentin Paisley at a Fighting Arts Academy in Milford, Connecticut. I'm sorry about that. Once again, we want to thank all our subscribers out there and people that are following us on Coach's Corner. Our sponsors are FarmerStrength. Get hit with that FarmerStrength if you need the training, whether you're an athlete, somebody needs to get in shape, you're having back problems, go see my man Coach G. He's done wonders, not only for my fighters, but myself also. My people at Foundation Brookfield, Joe and Sue-Ann Ciato, for all your supplemental needs, Hummus Fit Meals. Go up there, talk to them. Sue-Ann is a nutritionist. If you're an athlete, if you're somebody that needs help getting back into the fitness world, these are the people to talk to. They will help you out. Hummus Fit, best meal prep out there right now. And we'll catch you again. Train hard, train smart, and we'll see you in the next round. We're out.